was a bohemian artist. I never really pictured myself, you know, doing that, you know. And I mean, living in Florida, I had a big 5-bedroom house and a swimming pool and a fishing boat and 3 motorcycles and, you know, all the material stuff, which I don't have anymore and I don't give a damn about, by the way. That's not success. The success was getting to work on films that I loved. And I can honestly say, and I love to say that like working on Lilo and Stitch was my favorite show. The directors were incredible. You know, I got to go to Hawaii and do stuff like this. That was my first trip to Hawaii, and I went out on a little fishing trip, and they said, well, there might be some tuna biting, but they're not really in yet. And I caught this thing. And that's just a result of liking making cartoons. That's how I got there. You know, and that thing was 164 pounds. I don't know, can you relate that to kilos? Stuff like this. This is Aaron Blaze, the guy on the left here, is the director of Brother Bear. And we had a band together, and we used to play all over Orlando at little coffee shops, kind of acoustic music and stuff like that. But again, I wasn't just working at Disney, I was making music with the directors and people that I looked up to and admired and everything. And I always felt like, I'm just this kid from Montreal that likes making cartoons. There was nothing more to it than that, really. And, you know, I think this world of opportunity can open up for any of us. This is with Ryan Larkin. And this is about a year before he passed away. Again, another really magical event that happened was a guy named Chris Landreth made a film about Ryan's life. Actually, I missed that little part of my story when I started working on the heavy metal movie. They sent me to Ryan's house to work with him and to work in his home, one-on-one with Ryan Larkin. He was the guy, the inspiration for me when I was in high school and I was 12 years old and I saw his film. And I got to work with him in his home. He taught me more about drawing in a couple of months than I would ever learn again. And we became very, very, very close friends. And then years later, Chris Landreth made a film called Ryan, which got the Oscar, got an Academy Award for Best Animated Short Film. And I got a chance to meet Chris Landreth. And then one day I went to the Ottawa Animation Festival. I was telling my son and my brother about this story, about how I worked with Ryan. And we walked in to register, and there down at the other end of the hall was Ryan. You know, there he was, you know, and he was very sick. He was an alcoholic. He died of alcoholism. So I thought he's not going to recognize me. And as soon as he looked up, he's like, Joe, how you doing? And I mean, it had been a long, long time, and we were just thick as thieves. We were really close, and I got a chance to spend some real quality time with Ryan before he went away forever. And he actually was giving up alcohol and getting back into the animation business, interestingly enough. And so I'm going to wrap pretty soon and tell one more little story that I really like. And let me see, I'll put a more interesting image up there. There you go. I mean, this is while I was working at Disney, I also got the opportunities to play music and perform music, and we actually put together a band at the Disney studio, and there were so many musicians working at Disney. We had this huge band. I mean, we could play anything we wanted to. We could do show tunes, Broadway tunes, rock and roll, disco, you name it, we played it. And we put on very, very entertaining Christmas parties. But I love telling the story about me and my friend Barry Ward. We were working on a heavy metal movie together. We basically were bohemians wearing rags. We lived in a cockroach-infested apartment in Montreal. We barely ate, you know, even though we were actually after the heavy metal movie. This is the early 80s. There was a recession. We were scrambling to get work. We were scraping up animation work anywhere we could. We were basically poor. We were paupers living in the slums and and just scraping a living, but we loved animation. And so that was 1980. So in 2004, 24 years later, I'm sitting with my friend Barry, and we dressed real nice. We got expensive clothes on. And we're on the balcony of a palace in Annecy, in France, on the shores of the most beautiful lake in the Swiss Alps rising up. And we're having champagne breakfast on the balcony of a palace at Annecy. He's got a hotel room that's about $500 a night. And we're sitting there going, how did this happen? We're just a couple of bums that like making cartoons. Like, how did we get this? You know, and it really hit us that just because we like making cartoons, and I'm not saying that if you make cartoons, you'll end up sitting on a balcony in a palace, sipping champagne for breakfast. But if you follow this dream, you know, animation is an incredible gift. It's a great escape. Games are a great escape. Television is you know, TV series. I mean, what would kids do if it wasn't for cartoons on television? And now they get them 24 hours a day. You know, some of the most successful TV shows, you know, The Simpsons, of course, and Family Guy, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We all know that it's a really powerful medium, and it's big business. And so it's a really unique opportunity for artists. I mean, I didn't really want to scramble around as an artist, you know, painting and living in relative obscurity, and, you know, animation is an art form that reaches the masses. It's just an incredible, magical art form. You can't turn on the television without seeing animation in television commercials. It's just everywhere. And now it's on our iPhones and our iPods, and it's more and more and more pervasive. It's just absolutely everywhere. I think now is a time when there's more opportunities. Like we talked about the state of the industry yesterday, and I mean, at this point, anything is possible. There's hundreds of avenues you can take and pick and choose and make animation your life. You know, interactive media, and blah, blah, I mean, on and on and on. The choices are just incredible, and I envy you in a way, because I'm getting to the point where I'm backing away from it a little bit, and, you know, I bet I will end up working with Miyazaki. That's my dream now. I want to go to Japan and work for Miyazaki at some point. You know, he's like, Disney was my dream. Then I realized, wow, Miyazaki is better than Disney. I want to work for him. And that would be a pinnacle experience. And I'll bet if I put my mind to it, I'll probably get there eventually. And the last little thing I'm gonna mention. Do I still have enough time? Am I okay for tonight? A couple of minutes? Couple of minutes? Okay. The whole story with my dad and the fact that I wouldn't be able to ever make a living doing this. My dad was a fighter pilot in World War II, and he carried on to be a test pilot. And born and raised in Centerville, New Brunswick, which is near Fredericton, and he used to fly to the airbase right next to Miramichi here all the time. And he'd always talked about Miramichi and what a great place it was. And he'd come home with great big bags of lobster, lots of lobster, which I hated because he tried to force me to eat it. Now I love it. So lobster last night was really amazing. I just feel like there's a real particular kind of full cycle that I've gone. And I find myself here in Miramichi. My dad used to talk about catching salmon in the Miramichi River. You gotta go there. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world. You know, the flies are really bad, but yeah, I got a couple of bites. But I feel like I've really gone full cycle, you know, full circle, and I just know how proud my old man would be. You know, my book came out 3 weeks after he passed away, so my dad never got to see the book, and the book is dedicated to him. But I really feel like, you know, this is for my dad anyways, and I think it would really make him super proud, this like military guy with his flat top crew cut and everything. You know, he did realize after a while, especially when I called him from Disney and told him how much money I was making, he was actually in shock, you know. So I'm gonna part with those words that this is This is for my dad. It's so cool to be on his turf where he grew up in a place that he always talked about and talking about the magic of animation. Because I always told him that this could come true and I was going to make a living doing this. And here I am. It came true. And if there's a message behind what I'm saying, it's that it can come true for you too. Okay? And since this is an animation festival, I thought if you don't mind, if I have enough time to just like play a couple of animated clips. You'll give me time for one? Okay. They're cutting me off here. No, actually, so let's see. I'm going to change the displays here. There's, in Ottawa, when I met Tara last year, this woman named Maddie Pillard approached me, and she said, hey Joseph, I'm doing this, I'm going to do an animated film. I'm asking well-known animators